Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin's telephone call about Ukraine comes to an end and fears of possible invasion remain.
Scuffles and arrests as police attempt to break up large anti-COVID rallies in Paris and The Hague.
After the result of a failed drug test came to light this week, 15-year-old Russian skating star Kamila Valieva will know on Monday whether she is able to continue the Olympics.
The Super Bowl is fast approaching and the Los Angeles Rams are getting ready to face the Cincinnati Bengals. A telephone call between Russia's Vladimir Putin and US President Joe Biden did little to de-escalate tensions surrounding Ukraine on Saturday. The US stood firm on the decisive response it would take if Russia should invade, while the Kremlin criticised invasion hysteria. The call was preceded by an exchange between Putin and French President Emmanuel Macron, which, according to the Kremlin, made little progress. However, the calls highlighted one thing: all parties agree dialogue will continue. The US says that intelligence shows that Russia could still invade on short notice and has therefore announced plans to evacuate most of its embassy staff in Kiev. Germany, Spain, Italy and Belgium are among some states following suit and asking their nationals to leave. But in Ukraine, citizens remained resilient on Saturday, with thousands protesting on the streets of Kiev to show unity amid fears of a possible invasion. But Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has encouraged people not to panic and pushed back against what he calls bleak war predictions. However, he did attend police drills in the southern Kherson region, 30 kilometres from Russian-occupied Crimea, on Saturday morning. And he said a Russian attack could happen at any time. He also told journalists that Ukraine was ready to counter any action. Meanwhile, joint Russian-Belarusian military exercises continue. According to Belarusian military, they are expected to go on until February 20. Russia has continually denied accusations that its thousands of soldiers on Ukraine's border are gathered there to invade.
There were scenes of chaos on roads leading into Paris on Saturday as a so-called freedom convoy attempted to bring the city to a halt in protest at COVID restrictions. Vehicles from all over France started to arrive around 10 o'clock in the morning, inspired by rallies in the Canadian city of Ottawa. Having banned the demonstration, the authorities deployed thousands of police to try to stop and break up the protest. Police arrested dozens of people, used tear gas and towed away vehicles to compounds. But it was clear they were struggling with the sheer number of participants. A similar protest took place in the Netherlands as vehicles, including trucks and agricultural vehicles, attempted to block the city centre and the National Parliament. One protester told reporters they had prepared for a long standoff. "Come and have a look in this container, see what we've brought with us. We can last a very long time. Have a look through the door. You can tell we're ready for this." Some trucks carried posters calling for the Dutch Prime Minister to go and vowing to stay the course. "We want our freedom back. In the past, too much freedom's been taken away in all kinds of areas. That needs to stop." Since the beginning of the pandemic, the Netherlands has weathered some of the strictest anti-COVID measures in Europe, and many people have had enough. "Love, freedom, not a dictatorship," reads the banner. A tense standoff at a US-Canadian border crossing seemed to be dissolving peacefully on Saturday. Demonstrators started to leave with no resistance as Canadian police moved in to disperse the nearly week-long blockade. The protests at the Ambassador Bridge in Ottawa and elsewhere have been aimed at vaccine mandates and other coronavirus restrictions. There's also been an outpouring of fury towards Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who called the demonstrators a fringe of Canadian society. Many protesters, driving mainly pickups and larger trucks, have been spending nights at border rallies in defiance of warnings to end the blockades that have disrupted trade and production. The Ambassador Bridge is the busiest US-Canadian border crossing, carrying 25% of all trade between the two countries. The rallies have been dubbed freedom convoys and have spread to parts of Europe such as France and the Netherlands. The UK Prime Minister is still under pressure to resign over allegations of illegal parties in Downing Street during COVID lockdowns. He's one of around 50 people who've been sent a questionnaire by police in London investigating the accusations over the so-called Partygate affair. So far, Johnson has insisted he won't step down, and his party's MPs have not launched any official challenge to his leadership. But a recent poll found that 63% of those surveyed think he should resign.
Even before the Partygate, he wasn't a reliable person, and I think we should get rid of him.
I just think it was completely disrespectful and a disregard to all the guidelines that he's put in and everything like that. It just wasn't fair on the people.
And I think if it was Theresa May, she'd be out of power straight away. So he's getting a lot of leeway for it.
He's gotten away with a lot, for sure.
I don't think he should resign, no. He's good in one way and then he's done wrong in other ways. So, but I think government's all the same anyway.
Many of Boris Johnson's party MPs are waiting to see the results not just of the criminal investigation, but also the full version of an internal report by Sue Gray, a senior civil servant. Partygate comes at a critical time for Johnson, who's one of many European leaders trying to find a diplomatic resolution to the Ukraine crisis.
Protests have taken place in Afghanistan against giving over €3 billion of Afghan money to the American families of 9/11 victims. The group of demonstrators condemned US President Joe Biden's order to free up the Afghan assets held in the US, saying it belongs to them. They also called for financial compensation for the thousands of Afghans killed during the last 20 years of war in the country.
In Iran, firefighters said they managed to put out a fire at Tehran's Grand Bazaar. The city's fire department said the blaze broke out in the shoemakers section on Saturday morning and ended up damaging up to 25 shops. The spokesman for the department said there were no fatalities, but 2 people had been injured.
Both Portugal and Spain are suffering from severe droughts. According to climate scientists, it's the worst Portugal has seen in 20 years, with water reservoirs in the country's centre drying out. And in Spain in the last 4 months, there has been only a quarter of the rainfall there should have been. Low water supplies could create a difficult situation for the coming summer months.
The Court of Arbitration for Sport should decide on Monday whether 15-year-old figure skater Kamila Valieva is allowed to carry on and compete in the individual events of the Winter Olympics on Tuesday. The Russian prodigy's emerging career has been into jeopardy over a doping scandal. The journalist who first reported on this story on Wednesday have spoken out of being subjected to death threats, abuse or warnings to check their tea.
Understandably, all sorts of arguments on all sides, and it's not acceptable for that to turn into threats and violence, if indeed it did. I think we all need to take a chill pill, I think people would say when I was younger.
This week, Kamila Valieva helped Russia win gold in the team event. She even became the first female skater to land a quadruple jump at an Olympics. But on Tuesday, a test taken last December flagged for traces of a banned substance, trimetazidine, a drug which is used in the prevention of chest pain but could also improve physical efficiency.
The Sophie Stadium in Inglewood, California will soon be the scene of American football madness as the Los Angeles Rams take on the Cincinnati Bengals in the Super Bowl, the biggest sporting event of the year. The Rams will be playing at home in an attempt to win the Vince Lombardi Trophy, which they've only won once before in 2000. The Bengals, on the other hand, have never won a Super Bowl before. Both teams prefer to play in the air and on the offensive. The Rams have a slight edge in the standings, but the final should be just like the previous playoff games, very close. But this year's Super Bowl wants to show once-in-a-lifetime performance both on the field and off, and it's looking to relaunch the musical performance machine, which has stalled a little due to the health crisis. For this, organisers have chosen Mickey Guyton and Jenny Aiko to perform the national anthem and America the Beautiful. And at halftime, the show will feature some of the top names in hip-hop and R&B with Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige and Snoop Dogg.